Again, if you read Who Am I, you'll see that he describes what self-surrender is. And if you read it, you'll see he's basically describing the same thing as self-inquiry. He's sneaky, this Ramana. He's a sneaky one. It's the same teaching. It's the same basic method explained using different language.
Okay.
It's basically to, instead of, like if I say, let's say, I want to walk from place A to place B. Yeah? Place A to place B. I can walk towards place B, or I can walk away from place A. It's kind of like that. There are two ways of saying the same thing. So surrender, what do you surrender? Well, you let go of body, mind, and world. You leave that to God. And you turn towards yourself. You go to yourself. So the essential movement is your awareness or attention is going from various arising phenomena, body, mind, world, and turning towards or sinking into becoming one with consciousness. So remember we said how you started as pure, vast consciousness in which nothing is arising. And then this first vibration is the I thought, arises up. And then it manifests this whole tree of life, tree of Maya, tree of suffering. Self-inquiry is to withdraw all your attention back and come back into the self. You're withdrawing your attention from Maya and you're coming back into the self. So you can say, let go of Maya. And when you let go of Maya, you're coming to the self. Or you can say, go towards the self, dive into the self. So it's more like I'm heading down, you see. So these are the two methods. Yeah, you can move away from point A and you'll find yourself going towards point B. Or you can move towards point B and you'll find yourself moving away from point A. At some points in your journey, you will prefer the language of self-surrender. And at some points in your journey, you'll prefer the language of self-inquiry. If you believe in God, maybe you'll be more likely to do the self-surrender route. What if you don't believe in God? You see, Ramana's teachings are for everyone. You believe in God, you can follow the teachings. You don't believe in God, you can follow the teachings. You think life is an illusion, life is a dream, you can follow the teachings. You don't think life is an illusion, you think life is real, you can still follow the teachings. It's for everybody. Again, this is all explained in the path of Sri Ramana, part 1. But I'm very happy for people to ask me as well, because it's good to hear the teachings again. So self-surrender is the same as self-inquiry. In classical Vedanta, they talk about jnana, which means knowledge. And it means specifically self-knowledge. Self-knowledge means it's not the mind know anything. Most knowledge is the mind has risen up from the self and it's knowing things out there in the world. I know Paris is the capital of France. I know Mount Everest is the tallest mountain in the world. These are knowledge of things in Maya. Self-knowledge is not knowledge in that sense. Self-knowledge is withdrawing your mind down and abiding as self. And this is self-knowledge. It's not really intellectual knowledge. It's not knowledge of the mind. It's prior to the mind. So in classical Vedanta, they talk about jnana, which means knowledge or self-knowledge, this abiding as self. They also talk about vairagya, which is dispassion, which is losing interest in the worldly things. And Ramana says in Who Am I? These two things are the same. The question is asked, what is the difference between renunciation which is this vairagya, and knowledge, which is self-realization. He says they're the same. And he gives an analogy, I can't remember, I think he might have given the analogy of a pearl diver diving down to get a pearl from the bottom of the ocean. But he basically says the same thing. And you can see again by the way I'm moving my hands, how it's the same movement. One is moving away from the world, and one is moving towards the self. Which one do you prefer? Well, the mind will prefer one, perhaps, but it's the same. It's the same. It's the same teaching. He's sneaky. Yeah. He'll get that, and you'll see this. He'll get that teaching into you. Like when the question is asked from the question, he'll just say the same teaching again and again and again, but he'll say it in a slightly different way, so that person can get it. Once there was, I've told this story before. There was a person or a group of people that came to him, and they were so grateful for his teaching. And they said, "How can we thank you? How can we thank you?" And he says, "You can thank me by abiding as the self." Which I thought, oh gosh, he's so single-minded. Just abide as the self. Even how can you thank me? Abide as the self. What do I do now? Abide as the self. How do I find the post office? Abide as a self. He's just saying, abide as a self, all the time. That's all he's saying. What about surrender? Yes, do surrender. But I like to do mantras. Can I chant a mantra? Okay, you can chant a mantra. You can chant a mantra if you want to. That's fine. But what about abiding as a self? Yes, that's what I'm really asking you to do. But you don't want to do it, you can do whatever you want. If you don't want to do it, I'm not talking to you, Krish. I'm just sort of, yeah. People come to him and they'll say, "Oh, well, I don't really want to abide as a self." Or, okay, whatever, do what you like then. Some people came to him, they didn't want to abide as a self. They wanted confirmation they could do their own practice. And he'd say, "Okay, yes, so sure, fine." But
when you said about mantra meditation, I think he said it because he says that they're all auxiliary practices, mantra, neti, all these
exactly.
They all prepare the mind for that final swing of the axe.
Exactly.
Self-inquiry.
Exactly. If you can do self-inquiry, that's the best.
Yeah.
But some people's egos, you know how we describe this ego as like a virus, and it wants to stay alive. It doesn't want to end. Some people's egos seemingly will not allow them to do self-inquiry. So they'll have to do something else. And that's fine. That's the way it works sometimes. So then you do the other thing until you are ready for self-inquiry.
When I first came to you, I was doing Vipassana, and I've not ditched it. I still find it helpful. I still use some of the techniques, but I think the Who Am I, the self-inquiry method, is the sword that will slay the dragon, so to speak.
Yeah. Oh yes, it's the only way. Eventually, and it's the only way. But all ways will lead to it eventually. So all ways are good. All ways will lead to self-inquiry eventually.
Yeah,
it all leads to liberation. So it's all good, really. Genuinely it is. But self-inquiry is that when the mind becomes still and then you become what you are, which is what you already are.